Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Hager 1253 4.5 inch single acting spring hinge half surface standard weight. Trying to give you a 360-degree view. This is what the hinge would look like if you were on the pull side of a left-hand door or a right-hand reverse. This is the leaf that mounts to the surface of the door. This is the leaf that mortises to the frame. You have your half surface and your half mortise. The verb always applies to the door. So half surface, that means that not verb, but the active word in that definition means it applies to the door. So a half surface means that the surface mounted leaf goes to the door. A half mortise would be the opposite. This is shown in the prime coat finish and is a 4.5 inch height. So let's dissect the part number a bit. 1253 is representative of the fact that this is a single acting spring hinge, half surface. 4.5 inch stands for the height of the hinge leaf that's mortised to the frame. It's a typical 4.5 inch hinge leaf, just like you'd have on a standard hinge. Okay, it's 134 thousandths of an inch thick, which is your typical commercial grade thickness. Available in different architectural finishes. Again, this is the prime coat, something you would paint. It's all going to be steel base. That's part of the 1253 part number. Okay. There is a guide below this video regarding how many hinges you would use based on the door weight. They're really talking doors up to 3 foot by 7 foot. If your door is 70 pounds, one hinge, one half surface spring hinge. Now you can mix and match these with standard hinges because the axis of pivoting would be compatible, which is nice. The reason that is nice is because perhaps you've got a door and you've got a problem at the top hinge where maybe the reinforcement has failed in the door, okay? But it needs to be a spring hinge and it needs to self-close. Maybe you can't install or don't want to install a closer. This would be compatible with the other hinges on the door. If your door is up to 125 pounds, 2 spring hinges and 1 standard. And if you're at 150 pounds, all 3 spring hinges. Now I'm a fan of all spring hinges, and the reasoning is when you've got multiple hinges sharing the work or the responsibility of closing the door, you'll find a greater amount of success in getting the door to not only close but to latch. Okay, when you have less hinges than you should have as spring hinges, what you end up having to do is to turn the tension up so high in the spring to get the door moving fast enough through the closing cycle that it can get a lot of inertia going and actually slam closed, and sometimes fail to even latch properly because it's closing so quickly. You've got to have enough energy at the last few degrees to get it to overcome the resistance of the friction of the latch hitting the strike plate. You got to really crank it when it's out here, get it to move quickly. I have found when I've got more spring hinges, I can lower the amount of tension set on each of the spring hinges because there's still enough torque, so to speak, at the very last closing cycle, like the latching sweep part of the closing cycle. Think of a tugboat pulling no high speed but lots of torque. That's what you want to have, lots of torque, lots of traction to be able to pull that door closed. You've got the resistance, the air pressure, air resistance working against you, along with the latch hitting the strike plate. More spring hinges, better rate of success without slamming. If it's a fire rated door, you're definitely going to need it to latch. That's a requirement of it being a fire rated door. This hinge is going to include 4 typical 1224 undercut head sort of machine screws for the leaf that goes to the frame. The leaf that goes through the door is going to be via through bolt and grommet nut. There'll be 3 of them, of course, because that's what you're dealing with on that. That'll drill through the door. That's what you see on the outside. Okay. Also available, Hager has their number 417. It's a back plate, which is a steel plate that would go on the opposite side or the push side of the door. Okay? If the integrity of your door is so compromised that you need a stiffening plate, they make that. It's a Hager number 417. Now, setting the tension on this spring hinge is quite simple. First of all, before we talk about that, there's a link below this video to the template. It shows everything important dimensionally about the hinge. Everything in detail. This is a template pattern on the frame portion. The dimensions for this are called out on the template. Now, moving back to the installation instructions of setting the template, setting the spring tension, there's a link below this to installation instructions. Very simple. It's going to be an included Allen wrench. That goes into the tension collar up top. You'll know it because it'll take an Allen wrench where the bottom won't. Not necessarily top or bottom because it can be flipped over. It's non-handed. But you're going to want to turn it clockwise when the tension collar is pointed up. So for a left-hand door or a right-hand reverse door, tension collar up, you'll turn it clockwise. Obviously, if you need to turn that over, okay, you're still going to turn it clockwise, but it would be considered counterclockwise at this point. Now, you see the hole there. As I turn the Allen wrench clockwise, you see that I'm revealing additional holes in the tension collar. That's where you install the tension pin. Small silver pin that's going to be included. You stick that right in there, and that's what's going to keep the tension set on the spring. And that's how you do that. You go ahead and you can adjust it. Keep in mind, though, you really don't want to overset that. You don't want to try to push your luck, so to speak. Hager is a full-line manufacturer of all things hinge-related. Not only something less common like a half-surface spring hinge, but regular ball-bearing 4.5-inch hinges, residential hinges, exotic stainless steel base, swing clear, wide throw, every possible thing Hager will get involved into and does so very well. But they're much more than that. Full-line provider of weather stripping, exit devices, door closers, trim and auxiliary hardware, kick plates, the entire gamut. They're almost a one-stop shop. If they sold doors, then you wouldn't have to go to any other company. Very knowledgeable people. Okay, sometimes their lead times are too long, but their product is generally worth the wait, and that's just the bottom line. If you have any questions on the Hager number 1253 half-surface single-acting spring hinge or any other Hager product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.